In 1984, French electro art pop band Martin Dupont released their first proper album, Just Because, and from it, the track Soft Images. Already, this is kind of reminding me of the Human League, their instrumental Toyota City that appeared on the Travelogue album.
I remember that you told you how you hold me by your soul.
Those echoing kind of overlaid vocals and the kind of like watery sustain of the keyboard, yeah. Well, I really like the sounds we got going on. We got that kind of crystalline, kind of like that really high tone that's like sunlight, reflecting on a watery surface. And then we've got that lower, that like waves. Oh, and then we have that third sound coming in, that really fizzy kind of mid-tone, just beaming in. So far, the vocals are kind of like adding just to the overall kind of kaleidoscopic ambience, having a similar effect as the synthesizers, actually. Got that kind of like sort of whistly tone. Oh, did you hear that? Dun, dun. It's a bit of a pitch bendy sort of harmonic tone. Yeah, like a simulation of the harmonic notes. Dun. I love those sounds. They're kind of faint in the mix, but sounds kind of like what Thomas Lear was using on some of his like small press stuff from the early '80s. Oh, those sounds could be heard on some of Simple Minds stuff, like circa 1981-82. I'm thinking like particularly the New Gold Dream album. Yeah. Yeah, I'm thinking like maybe the track, was it Catherine Flying the Color Wheel or something? Or the Colors Flying the Catherine Wheel. There were some sounds on it that went dum, 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 like that.
I'll wait for the night.
We're in D. We've got kind of like a fuzzy mid-tone kind of working in there, like synth-wise, and you hear that. Well, faintly fuzzy.
Some images for me, sweet images for you.
I just love the contrast between those really high kind of piercing tones that cut in every now and then, like unexpectedly amid the kind of warmer sort of underbelly of the.
Sweet images for me, good images for you.
This is is interesting how in France around this time there was a bit of a time delay in the adaptation of the current synthesizers, or so it seemed. It's kind of like you have certain techniques and methods like layering and such that were reflective of the recent electro art pop coming out of England. Like Simple Minds, OMD, heck, possibly Naked Eyes even, and yet the technology used harkens back a bit further in some ways. I'm hearing that sound wise, I would compare this perhaps a bit more to like Thomas Lear, or even like his EPs from the early '80s, or possibly even like John Fox's Metamatic, or like what I mentioned earlier, like moments, say some of the more cold wave moments of the original Human League. Yeah, and but this is like a far cry from, say, the like in the States by this point, where like the LA studios and such were fully into like the Fairlight era at this point. Let's meet the people on this. Vocals, Catherine Loy, and let's see, vocals bass synthesizer, Alain, Seghir. There's basically three people in the band. Although I guess Alain is the main like musical guy, and flanked by two women who take turns on vocals, I guess. Yeah. Catherine, and then there are a few other tracks on the album that feature Bridget Ballion. How the way those sounds just kind of like pierce right in. That was a pretty thick sound, actually. Almost like harkening back to like some of the ARP models used on like late '70s electronic recordings. Oh, hear that? Yeah, the way that piercing sound kind of like comes in like a wave right over those underlaying sounds. Yeah, and we actually had some real bass on there too. Boom, but you heard that. Yeah, that was Martin Dupont with Soft Images from their 1984 release, Just Because, released on Facteurs d'Ambiance. And this band had put out like an EP in 1982 and recorded some demos between 1981 and '83. So this release was somewhat kind of like long in the waiting among like in cold wave circles across the channel at the time. And a lot of the reissue of this has 17 tracks. Like, yeah, they had a lot of material in the can at this point. Anyway, let's hear another track from the album. Take a look. Okay, take apart. There's like 4 layers going on here. We got that kind of fizzy sound. and then we have that dong dong dong.
Want to live like a dragon.
And then we have what this time sounds like a synth bass. Boom, 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 boom.
Let me lose and your body. All I want is to dance. Feel like Jordan.
Okay, now this time, it seems like Alain Seghir is the only person being heard. Vocals, bass, and synthesizer. They say real bass, although that sounds like a synth bass to me, doesn't it? Doesn't it sound like boom, 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 boom? Because just the smoothness and everything, the tone. Like I'm not really hearing. It sounds like it's being played this way. Let's just say, as opposed to. I'm not really. Hear that fizzy sound that's just running all the way through.
I want to swim
Those sounds that are cutting in right there almost have the effect of like synth horns or something, like synth sax. What I'm really trying to say is that it has the effect of kind of like some fractious interjection of saxophone.
I'm anchoring after a clockwork garage.
Oh, and now I'm hearing some real guitar there, I believe. Not necessarily credited on Discogs. Yeah, I'm hearing some avant-garde, kind of almost like snake finger-ish guitar.
Let me hit synthetic banana under a palm tree made of plastic.
Oh, the way that guitar is just kind of rising higher and higher in the background with these thin, brittle notes. I like the way it was just kind of slightly going kind of off key and just doing these little bends and such.
All I want is to run, it's jolly. Let me on up to the Adriatic, everything is dark.
I can't make out a word he's saying really, and the lyrics aren't printed anywhere, but his voice, I don't know. I kind of like the female vocalist better, but
Bardo is still erotic. Bardo is still erotic.
the guitar interjections here and the effect they have on the synthesizer sounds and such, and just the mixture of it all, the way it all comes together, kind of reminds me of Ashra Temple, or Ashra, yeah.
Hey boy, don't be so sick.
Yeah, the guitar work kind of has that echoey sound, kind of atmospheric sound. Throws in these like odd notes in a manner similar to what's his name, Manuel Gotch something, Ashra guy.
He's ironic.
Quite a lot of counterpoint between that bass figure and that persistent kind of fizzy tone.
Let's cruise together on
There's like actually there's like there at all times there's like 4 layers going on.
E.
Hard to my it's hard to
Nick, Nick, Nick.
yeah, two very independent figures of one another, just interlocking that bass figure and then that do no 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 no. Yeah, you wouldn't be getting that kind of nuance and like electro pop within a few years onward from the time of this recording. Yeah, electro art pop when it was still being approached, when they were like embracing new technology, but approaching songcraft from the traditional model of starting with taking a melody, taking a theme and then building on it, building counter melodies, and yeah, and then finding the right kind of tones and such for each passage and complementary tones and such. Yeah. In the later '80s, of course, it would get to where it was just kind of starting with a sequenced electronic drum pattern or something, and kind of just tossing on a few sounds and such and vocals over it and just yeah, made to order club music basically. Yeah, the final this I would place much more kind of in the art rock art pop tradition of music making, as we were heading kind of toward the climax of the maximalist rock era. Yeah, that was Martin Dupont with Take a Look, and before that, Soft Images, 2 tracks from their 1984 album Just Because, their first of 3 proper albums. Yes. For more Rubies and Sapphires from the catalog of Martin Dupont, see the directory of albums by French artists, linked in the description below for Red Hot Tracks and Purples from, French cold wave electro art pop artists like Martin Dupont, Mathematics Modern, and many others, as well as music from across the spectrum, as was heard in the, in France during the 70s and 80s, from symphonic rock to folk rock to some hard rock, chanson and pop and all that. Yeah. Like and subscribe, follow me on social media, and share the video, and leave a comment if there are any observations you have about the 2 tracks we just heard. The layers, the sounds, the tones, the way they, interacted with one another, the vibe of it all, the color, and all. And until next time, this is Zaragon, the world's most ear travel trimaximalist, signing off.